Okay, so it looks like we're on to day 127 of going through my journal. And the quote for today says, "If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. Do you make backup plans when you make your original plan, or do you wait to see how plan A goes? How adaptable are you to change?" So if you're following along, just think about how you would answer this question. And let's see what I said. I feel like I kind of like this question, but let me see what I said. So I said, I don't think I really make plans. I typically have some goals, but most of them already have plans built into them. I think that's why I keep going back to school, because the plan to reach the goal is already built in. I just have to make it from one semester to the next. The only planning I really have to do is decide what classes to take from a subset of classes to choose from. Yeah, and typically there's an advisor there to help you and tell you what classes to take. And yeah, I think that may be part of why, as I've gotten higher up into education, I've struggled a little bit more, because I do kind of like having a more laid out plan. And when you get into your PhD, it's more like, okay, what are you gonna study? Like, what's your research problem? And that's where I'm kind of stuck right now, is I have to get my concept paper together. And I mean, I'm actually in a good place, because I'm going to write my paper off of a topic that we had like a grant for, and we've already kind of done some of the research on it. So I have like an idea of the area, so I can, like, people that just don't have like, so I don't know, it may be a good thing if you don't have one already laid out for you, that you can like kind of come up with whatever you want. And I think I am kind of struggling a little bit right now with, like, I know I'm locked into this topic, and I don't really know if it's something that I'm like the most passionate about, but it makes the most sense for me to do it. But anyway, I'm just gonna finish it, like, and then I'll have my PhD, and if I want to study something else, then I'll have my PhD, and then maybe I can find funding to study something that I'm a little bit more passionate about. But yeah, so I go on to say, as far as other goals, I love planning, but it seems no matter how much I plan, things always tend to go off course, and I end up giving up. I don't know that I fully agree with that. Let's see what else I said. I don't usually feel bad about giving up. A lot of times there's a major sense of relief. Okay, yeah, let me see. I don't know if I'm going to talk about this later, or I'll just talk about it now. So now I think I've figured out like what that is. And I know I've mentioned this a few times, and I know some people push back on this because, but like, I'm pretty sure based on my symptoms that I've had ADHD my whole life, and it just didn't present the same way as like the hyperactivity. Like, that part didn't present, but it seems common from what I'm reading in different groups and stuff that I'm following, that people who have ADHD will like get really into something. Like, something will catch their interest, they'll get really, really into it, and like it will take up like all the space in their mind for a short amount of time, and then they'll get bored with it. And the first time I realized this was there was like a post on Instagram. It was something about like, somebody should start a site for people with ADHD where you can trade like all of the stuff that you've bought for different hobbies that you've tried and you've given up on. And I'm like, I have a whole room right now of like different hobbies that I got, like, I was super into it and I did all this research on it, and I was gonna do this, and then it's like after a week or two, like, it just, all of that excitement and all of like the dopamine I was getting from being excited about the thought of doing whatever it was has just gone away. Like, I've got all this like like, it's like, I feel like I want to be a gardener, but like it just never like follows through. So at one point I wanted to do aquaponics, and so I have all of this aquaponics supplies, hydroponic supplies packed up. I mean, I've got like an indoor grow tent, I've got lights, I've got lots of stuff, lots and lots of hydroponic stuff. And then microgreens, which I thought, okay, well, hydroponics was too much. Maybe let me start with some microgreens. I've got all of this microgreen stuff. It's all packed up right now. Candle making, I have like, I could totally start a candle making business. I've been saving up like all of these little glass yogurt jars, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna save up all these jars, and then that's what I'm gonna put my candles in, and it's gonna be kind of like a sustainable candle. I've got a tote with like hundreds of those jars. I have like the wax, and pole dancing. I went to some classes on that. I bought a pole, had it put up in my house, barely used it. I do want to get the pole back up now, because I think I would be better at it now since I've been working out at the gym. I'm lighter. I think my grip strength is probably better. I had issues like being able to hold myself up on the pole because my grip strength wasn't very strong. But I mean, I'm just trying to think of what all I have like stashed away in that room. Like, there's just so many hobbies, and I think I want to say, like, I think there's a difference between like just quitting. If you haven't had that feeling, I don't think you understand like how excited like I would get about these things, and I would just be like, I would almost go into like this focus zone of like, oh, I'm gonna get on and do all this research and learn everything that I can and join all these groups and see how much I can learn about it. Food trucks for a while, like the food truck is a recurring one. I've got an idea for a food truck. I don't know, there's just so many things, and it's like I'll start making these plans, and then it just falls to the wayside. And so that's why I'm just kind of like, when I get that rush, that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I want to get so into this, I pull back now, because I'm like, I don't want to waste all this money on something that I'm not going to follow through with. You know, I need to follow through with all of these other things that I've started and didn't finish. And I keep them in there because I do go through cycles of like getting interested in them again, and then I'm like, okay, I've already got all this stuff, and then I'll get a little bit further with it, but then it'll die off again. And so I don't know, but right now everything's to the wayside while I finish my PhD. But yeah, so feel bad about giving up. But like I said, once I made the connection that it's not just like me being a total failure and just like giving up on everything, and that this is something common in people with certain types of like brains, then I've found ways. Like I said, I've been pulling back whenever I get that feeling. You know, I'll write it down, but I won't just go super crazy and just drop everything to focus on that. And that has helped me like immensely with school. I think just like writing it down and making note of like, okay, this is something I'm interested in, let me just look at it just a little bit, but don't get too far into it. You got to keep up with all of your other, you know, responsibilities. Those are the priorities. Yeah, that seems to have helped, just like acknowledging that this is what's happening and understanding like that that's what's happening, and that it's going to die off probably, and I need to follow through with the other stuff. Okay, go on to say, yeah, and I've mentioned this before, that like when that would happen several times, I would kind of like overcommit to things, because I would feel like I'm so into this, I'm so excited about this, I'm going to, like, I joined like the master gardeners in my county, and I did like the master gardener class, and then like you're supposed to like keep volunteering, and I was volunteering because I felt like a responsibility to keep volunteering, but I just was not enjoying it, and it was just such a stress to like keep going to these events. And in that case I should have spoken up, because I mean, this is going way off topic, but whatever. They put you with like a mentor, and I had talked to this lady, this master gardeners. I was like by far the youngest one. Most of them were like in their 60s, 70s, 80s. I talked to this lady on the phone for like an hour, because she was supposed to talk to all the new people and just kind of see what they're interested in, and then put them with another gardener who's kind of like a mentor to help them through like the first year. And I mentioned like several times that like I'm into growing food crops. I'm not really that into like flowers. You know, I want to be able to grow things that are like more that I can use. And she put me with this lady that was doing a butterfly garden. And, you know, I tried to show up and be excited about the butterfly garden. Like, I really tried. I, like, you know, tried to find something interesting about it. And I would talk to her about all the plants. And this lady was really excited about it. And I was just going and pulling weeds all the time in this butterfly garden. And I just wasn't, like, if they would have put me with the greenhouse lady or the vegetable garden, like, maybe I would have stuck with it a little bit better. But yeah, the butterfly garden wasn't enough to keep me interested. And then like once I just kind of like let them know like, hey, I've started this PhD program, like I've got to step away a little bit. Like I was so relieved to not like have to come down like every Saturday and like be doing something that I hated at that moment. But yeah. So yeah, usually there's like a sense of relief because I'll overcommit myself, and then it'll start to feel like a burden when I'm not like as into it anymore, and like all of these other pressures are coming on me and I don't have the time to devote to it. Okay, so I go on to say, over the past few months, I've been using a habit tracker to try and build some new habits. I've mentioned this a lot of times. Yeah, when did I start that? Because, let's see, build some new habits and work towards some goals. I think this will be a better strategy than making a big overarching plan. I'm working little by little to build up these habits, so eventually I may be able to come up with a path to reach my goals. To answer the part about being adaptable, yes, I'd say I'm pretty adaptable if things fall through. See, this sounds contradictory. If things fall through, I can generally keep going. But I'm talking about more or less like, I'm not one that has to stick to like a rigid plan. Like if I have a plan and something kind of goes off track, I think I'm pretty good at like adapting and not like freaking out and just like calling it quits. And I'm realizing that even more, that I'm better, not to like say I'm so much better, but I think I am better at that than most people, because I've been like getting into fitness over the past few years, and I've done a few different fitness programs, and these Facebook groups, like a lot of the fitness programs have a Facebook group associated, and watching the way some people talk on these Facebook groups, especially with these fitness programs, it's like, and these are like, it's not like kids, because people have been saying that like students these days have to be walked through things more than usual. Like there's some teachers that are saying that seems like it's getting worse, that like you have to hold their hand through things more. But yeah, these people in these groups, I'll just talk about the one that I'm in right now. So this lady, you sign up, and it was only like $97, and for like a workout plan, especially like a 12-week plan, I feel like that's a pretty good deal. Like it's not that expensive, especially if you look at like, if you were gonna hire like a trainer or have someone write out like your own individual plan. I think $97 is a really good price. And like, she has a whole plan. She has like this workout plan. She has it broken down. Like she put a lot actually into this plan, and she has 3 different options for workout styles. You can go to the gym, you can work out at home, or there's a home gym. So if you've got like quite a bit of home gym equipment, and then also there's like minimal equipment where it's just like light weights and bands and things like that. So she has different options for different people, different levels. She has like a meal plan that's broken down week by week, and she says, you know what, like this is the meal plan. It'll be best if you follow the meal plan, but if there's issues with some of the food on the plan, I've given you the macros, use a meal tracker, calorie tracker, whatever, to adjust it if you need to. And I'll just give like a specific example. Like, people like need to be told like exactly what to do. Like, if there's something in the plan that's not like 100%, like the questions that they ask, I'm just kind of like, some of them ask, I'm just like, you can Google or you can figure some of this out on your own. Like, you're not paying hundreds of dollars for like a trainer to like hold your hand and walk you through. I mean, which I guess is why, let me just give a specific example. So the thing we're supposed to do this week is, the lady is like, okay, this plan is basically mock prepping for a bodybuilding show. So it was like a 12-week shred, what someone would do who was going to compete in bodybuilding. It's kind of similar, a watered down version of what that would be. And she said, you know, some people want to, you know, have a peak week. So I've built in a peak week to this. If you want to do the peak week, you can. If you don't, you can keep doing the other stuff. Anyway, with the peak week, she also put instructions for a water drop. And again, she's like, if you're not comfortable with this, like, don't do the water drop. But here's what I'm giving you. Like, drink 8 liters of water a day, drink every 30 minutes. Like, she did give a lot of detail on this. She even told supplements to take. This one lady posted something like, I didn't drink, I was 500 mils short of the 8 liters this day, and like, I just feel like such a failure. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be thinking like this, but I'm just like, you drink 7.5 liters of water. Like, 8 liters is just kind of like a roundabout number, like, to reach. And there was a lot of this, like, people, like, if they didn't do something for one day, if they ate like 1 square of chocolate, they were just like ready to give up. Like, you know, if they messed up on one day, they were just like, I'm just giving up, you know. And maybe they were just being dramatic or what, but I mean, a lot of people did drop out. Like, and it seems like there are a lot of people that are just so rigid in a plan that, like, if anything goes wrong, it's just like the world ends. And I've mentioned this before too. I saw this at Disney, and it seemed like there were some families that would like way over plan like their trip, and then if something did not go to plan, it was just the end of the world. And they were angry and they were mean to the workers because like the line to ride this ride was too long, and they missed their dinner reservation, and then their whole day is shot. And it's just kind of like, I'm totally not like that. Like, if something goes wrong, I'm just kind of like, well, it happens, you know, like, what do we do now to move on? And yeah, like, I'm so glad that I'm like that. Like, I know that it's not something that people can help, you know, like, some people can help. And I've seen so many people that are like that are just really high strung. And if something like goes wrong, there's just no moving past it. Like, it's just a meltdown. And I know that people can't help that. And so I'm glad that I'm not like that, that's not something that I have to work on. Like, I'm glad that I'm able to just kind of like go with the flow, because I think it would be just kind of miserable to kind of, I don't know if there's a name for that. Like, I don't know if that's part of OCD, or I don't know if there's like a name for that, but I'm glad that I don't have whatever causes that, because I feel like it makes my life less stressful to not be so rigid and having to stick to a plan. It's also made my life harder not being able to stick to a plan very well. A part of me does wish that I had more structure when I was a kid, but then a part of me wonders, like, if I did have a really rigid schedule as a kid, would it have made me like that, to where, like, if things don't go to schedule or plan, that I just, you know, can't handle it or get really stressed, like, not being on a schedule. So I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have talked about that last part, but it's just interesting to me to watch how other people react to things and how people like think differently. And So yeah, so I do kind of creep on these groups and just kind of just because it's interesting to see, like, I'm doing the same program as other people, and just to see how they react to certain parts of it, I guess. But anyway, I guess that's all I have for today. This is kind of a long one, but I'll be back tomorrow with day 128.